Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah is confirmed dead by the militant group Hezbollah as he was killed in an airstrike yesterday by the Israeli military. As you can see here, Reuters. Israel kills Hezbollah leader Nasrallah in airstrike. Israel killed Hezbollah leader Sayyed Hassan Nasrallah in a powerful airstrike in Beirut, dealing a huge blow to the Iranian-backed group as it reels from an escalating campaign of Israeli attacks. The Israeli military said on Saturday it had eliminated Nasrallah in a strike from the group's central command headquarters in Beirut's southern suburbs a day earlier. Hezbollah confirmed he had been killed without saying how. His death is not only a major blow to Hezbollah, but also to Iran, removing an influential ally, which helped build Hezbollah into the linchpin of Tehran's constellation of allied groups in the Arab world. Senior member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, Deputy Commander Abbas Nabahushan, was also killed in Israeli attacks in Beirut, Iranian media reported on Saturday. Hezbollah said in a statement that it would continue its battle against Israel in support of Gaza and Palestine and the defense of Lebanon and its steadfast and honorable people. Now, what's for the future of Hezbollah? Well, they didn't name a successful emir yet, and I'd be surprised if they name one right away so that he won't become a target. There'll be more underground, which I'm very surprised that the Israeli military were able to strike successfully on Nasrallah. It leads me to believe that either, they had spies on the ground tracking him, or that someone within his entourage had signals electronic device and it was monitored, and that's how they got him. Or there's somebody, informants within Hezbollah. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a mixture of both. That's how they killed Imad Mugnia, because there was an informant for the Israeli government and the Israeli intelligence services and the Mossad. And lo and behold, the person that was the informant that killed Imad Mugnia was none other than Ali Al-Jar, who is the uncle of the alleged hijacker pilot of Flight 93, Ziad Jar. Oh, wait a minute. It's too close to call. Let me not talk about that for a second, because it's much easier to just say that hijackers didn't exist. It's a problem. But you see what I'm getting at. I think it's very surprising that Nasrallah was holding a meeting in where he's, being targeted. Nevertheless, what does this mean for the future of Israel and Lebanon? What does this mean for the future of Iran? Well, I probably would like to think that Iran won't respond in kind. Now, that's a double-edged sword, because if they don't, they'll be seen as weak. Because Lebanon is the staunchest ally of Iran. It's the reason why I said many videos ago, dating back to last year, the goal of Israel is to basically cut off the ties between Hezbollah and Iran. And to do that, they need to strike Syria. And they did first. Syria is decimated. And then to the east, you have Lebanon, and to the west, you have Iran. So you cut off the middle, you cut off the pipeline from Iran to Lebanon. Tactically, it's a very shrewd move by Israel. I mean, it's smart to want to cut off that connection. But at the same time, if you kill 100 people to kill a single terrorist or two, you have ensured that the terrorist groups that are out there will continue to exist and grow. In fact, you'll have even people who are on the fence to sympathize with these people. These were not precision attacks. They destroyed 6 buildings yesterday, killing approximately over 300 people. But at least we got Nasrallah, right? Yeah, but you killed the father who had 6 kids, his wife. his uncle, a niece, and the surviving nephews and daughters or sons are basically going to grow up hating who? You, Israel, the United States. I mean, at one point, um, Assad Raya, or that's the name, Assad Rad, was at a White House press conference, or posted a video of a White House press conference that I follow this woman on Twitter, and someone asked this White House spokesman, names escapes me, I've never seen him before, was a woman, said, "Do you think that the attacks in Lebanon are only going to escalate the tensions in the region?" And the woman basically came out and said, "Well, that's not confirmed." And the woman said, "Well, we have documented, video recordings." And then the woman says, "Well, we don't know anything about it." So they went from Israel has a right to defend itself. And then when more and more civilians got killed, they then went to, well, that's the cost of war. And now they're saying, what war? The United States government are led by psychopaths, just like the Israeli government. Now, you could say whatever you want about Bashar al-Assad, Hassan Nasrallah, but to those celebrating these leaders' deaths, you have no right to gloat when you yourself are backing and supporting people that killed far more people than Assad and Nasrallah killed combined. And that's the United States and Israel. Now, the Gulf. Let's talk about Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Qatar. Well, when Benjamin Netanyahu went to the United Nations to speak, what was it, yesterday or the day before? I think it was yesterday. The Saudi delegation walked out. Okay. Why isn't the Gulf rushing in to basically say, hey, we're going to embargo the United States in regard to oil regulation. We're going to do deals with Russia and we're going to do deals with China and we're going to cut the United States out. That would be a real power move to show that you're in solidarity, but they won't because Saudi Arabia won't do nothing. The Arabs in the Gulf don't care generally because they're a different branch of Islamic theology. Iran, Lebanon, Syria are Shia nations. Whereas Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar are all Sunni. There's more Sunnis than Shias. So there's that divide. So that's the reason why I don't think Saudi Arabia and them will do anything. They might, say, hey, stop, debasing the Palestinians. They've been saying that since the Carter administration. And this is the reason why Carter actually worked well with Saudi Arabia, but that wasn't the case with Reagan. Reagan didn't care for Israel or Saudi Arabia. And that's where you see the rise of the neocons come from the Reaganites, because they wanted to follow Nixon's footsteps. Dick Cheney used to always complain that they did Richard Nixon wrong. And then in 1992, Paul Wolfowitz created the Defense Planning and Guidance Program, which was basically U.S. imperialistic goals to demilitarize through economic sanctions or through military force, invading the country on a suspected superpower, because the only superpower would be the United States. After the fall of the Soviet Union in 1979, it was basically said that, there was an outline by Carter's national security advisor, Zygmunt Brzezinski. He wrote a book called The Grand Chessboard about outlining how the United States could stay a superpower by controlling Southeast Asia, or Eurasia, as he called it. Who cares about what some radical Arabs have to say? We'll just use them to defeat the communists. Communists are a bigger threat than the Islamic militants. I think that would be the case because Islamic militants are basically expendable pirates, right? These groups that basically, don't have a governing military, Al Qaeda, Abu Sayyaf, or Boko Haram or Jaish-e-Islam in, Pakistan, or, Jaish-e-Mohammed in Pakistan. All these groups, yeah, they're formidable, but they fight in the mountains. They fight guerrilla warfare. They're not an external threat. Al Qaeda used to be an external threat, not anymore, but that's going to change. I'll get to that in another video. Nevertheless, yeah, so the Gulf will remain silent. Lebanon is reeling over the death of Nasrallah, but they're not defeated. Syria, I mean, they're trying to rebuild their country. By the way, remember, you want to say, oh, Assad's a war criminal. Okay, fair enough. The United States actually supported the Sunni Islamic radical groups in that country through an operation program from the CIA called Timber Sycamore, headed by then General David Petraeus. It was approved by none other than King Abdullah II in Jordan and Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Netanyahu was also a wanted war criminal, along with Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. So everyone in this war is basically dirty hands when it comes to the government. I don't think there is a clean government on the face of the earth, to be honest with you. And it's always the people, the people that die the most are the people that are civilians. It's never really the whole government. Like, if for example, if you claim to have the greatest military in the face of the earth, that's what Israel says. But it's really the United States. Israel doesn't have a good fighting force. They just don't. I mean, if you're taking over, what is it now, 25 years to defeat Hamas, and you have prison walls around these people and you still can't kill them all, it's either that they don't want to kill you all, because by having them around, we can always kill off the Palestinians slowly and gradually. Well, Israel wants to expedite that progress, and that's the reason why they allow for the October 7th attacks to happen. That's not a conspiracy. They had warnings. This is coming from the Israeli IDF located on Jericho Wall from months prior. Hey, Hamas is seen building tunnels underneath the wall. Forget it. Don't worry about it. Like 9/11. CIA and NSA had information about Al Qaeda inside the United States. Don't share it. Because the action is in the reaction, as Saul Alinsky once put it. Because if Hezbollah or Hamas attacks Israel, we can overextend our aggression in our response. They claim that Hezbollah, has this doctrine where the threat of Israeli extinction is imminent. That was their charter in 1985. And they amended that. And when they talk about Judaism, when they talk about Israel in general, they're not talking about the people, they're talking about the government. Now, Hezbollah officials have said on occasion that it's only anti-Zionist, not anti-Semitic, their charter. There's a difference. However, according to other scholars, these words do not hold up on closer examination. So, right? Like Hezbollah, for example, they, just to, play devil's advocate, it's only fair, right? Hezbollah actively engages in Holocaust denial. And they know what they're doing by doing this. But is it really the 6 million that died, or is it 5 million that died, or is it 2 million that's what they're, and that's, I wouldn't, I don't know how many people died. 6 million, 6 million. But you get what I'm trying to say is because Hezbollah basically will contradict themselves. Oh, we're not anti-Israeli, we're anti-Zionist. And then once in a while, you have some of these people, from Hezbollah that, go on TV, Lebanese TV, because they control the media. They're a big media platform, and in politics. So they spread these, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. But Amal Saad Garabi, I hope I'm saying his last name correctly, who's a Lebanese political analyst, argued that although Zionism has influenced Hezbollah's anti-Judaism, and I'll use the quote, it is not contingent upon it because Hezbollah's hatred of Jews is more religiously motivated than politically motivated, end quote. That's what he says. But Robert Wistach, who was a historian specializing in the study of anti-Semitism, described Hezbollah's ideology where, quote, the anti-Semitism of Hezbollah leaders and spokesmen combines the images of seemingly invincible Jewish power and cunning with the contempt normally reserved for weak and cowardly enemies, end quote. Now, like I said, they used to have a charter, which was, a manifesto. And it was through Sheikh Ibrahim al-Amin, who, by the way, is one of the leaders of Hezbollah. Where he basically described the Hezbollah manifesto as radical, and that its first objective was to fight against what Hezbollah described as American and Israeli imperialism, including the Israeli occupation of southern Lebanon and other territories. They have another objective, and that was to gather all the Muslims into an ummah, where Lebanon would further the aims of the Iranian regime under the 1979 revolution of Iran, because Hezbollah is basically an extension of Ruhollah Khomeini's ideology, Shia militarism. However, they've amended that. And the group evolved out of that, like primitive anti-Semitism mindset. Today, Hezbollah is a left-wing political entity based on social injustices. But Israel will remind you, oh, look, this is their charter. Well, they don't go by that charter anymore. But you don't care because, well, they're a threat. Because usually left-wing socialist Arab nations are a bigger threat than dumb Arab, Wahhabi-led countries. Because they're impulsive, whereas socialist Arab countries are more modern, westernized, methodical, intelligent, literate. And by destroying that part of the world, the Arabs who are led by the kingdom are cheering it on with their silence, not realizing that one day Iran and Syria and Lebanon are going to be defeated, even though it will come at a cost for the United States, a big cost. And this will give rise to the real anti-Semites in the world. It's not from the Islamic nation. It's from these far, very extreme, I'm not even going to say far right, because I don't think there is a political ideology from what I'm seeing. It's a mixture of totalitarianism and authoritarianism and religious identity, or overtly religious identity, of these Christian nationalists that hate Israel, that blame them. And when you have people like Alex Jones and David Icke spreading these, rumors about the Illuminati, and you know exactly what that means, that Israel is the key enemy of the world. Jews in general, not Israel, but Jews. Sooner or later, the Arabs are next, because they'll have nobody else to back on. And they'll be easily defeated because Saudi Arabia depends on the United States when it comes to military protection. And then it's just between the United States and Israel. Now, I'm not saying these countries are going to be destroyed and not it doesn't work like that. They weaken them. And then when they're stronger, we go back to fighting them again. So this way, the wheels of the Defense Department always turn. there's always a new enemy. Soviets, communism were the enemy. Then when they fell, Islamic radical groups were the enemy. And then when they weren't a threat anymore, let's go back to the Cold War period. North Korea, China, Russia, all these are the threats. Meanwhile, Al Qaeda in Afghanistan and Taliban are building, even bigger than what they were ever before. This future that I see in the Middle East is basically destabilization, the puppet regimes catering to the West and Israel and the coalition partners involved, uh, the, the controlled regulation of oil in the region, minerals, and of course for the United States to expand their military operations all around the world. Remember Israel's Oded Yanon plan, basically, which outlined uh, a future of the Middle East because they feared that countries like Libya and Syria and Lebanon and Jordan and Egypt would basically be a threat, and Iran to be a threat to Israel because of their treatment of the Palestinians, and that they know that the Muslims present a threat because, yeah, even though that the majority of Muslims in the Middle East are Sunni, the Shia are the ones fighting. The Muslims, the Sunnis, they're only fighting if they're backed by the CIA or Israel and the United States. And these are terrorist groups. You create terrorism by producing terrorism. You just didn't listen. I hear this all the time, consistently enough, to where it shakes my head in disbelief that October 7th was the start of everything. Hamas just attacked us out of the blue. Hamas is a terrorist organization. There's no, arguing this. Call them resistance all you want. They kill people. I don't care if you are, fighting back against the oppressor. You don't have the right to kill civilians. Anyway, Israel is basically an excuse me for my New York accent, existential threat. But Hamas is basically just a local guerrilla unit. And why Israel couldn't basically eliminate Hamas at any point, just like how the United States could have eliminated Al Qaeda in Afghanistan when they had the chance. They didn't. Because decisions are made to keep them around. Because if there's no Hamas, there's no Hezbollah, there's no Palestinian Islamic Jihad, if there's no Egyptian Islamic Jihad, if there's no Tehrik-e Pakistan groups, right? Then the justification for Israel and the United States to attack Muslims is much more clearer, right? Take out these radical groups, and what you have is the demonstrable evidence, even with Arab terrorist groups existing, it becomes much more clear that what the United States and Israel are doing is considered inhumane, genocidal. Take that into effect, that if there were no radical Islamist groups, which are basically born out of U.S. foreign policy, West foreign policy, right? And also the spread of the ideology through nomads, right? That decipher the books wrong. It's basically U.S. imperialism, with Israel being behind as the instigator. And if you're going to say that Hamas and Hezbollah are terrorist groups, well, then the United States and Israel are terrorists. If you're going to say that guerrilla units who are killing civilians through political means is terrorism, that's exactly what the United States and Israel are doing. In fact, this was echoed in Ramzi Yousef's statement in 1993 when he blew up the World Trade Center bomb. Was behind Jake Ply, was allowed to speak at the sentencing and basically said that I'm a terrorist. I'm proud of it. But you were the first terrorist. I love always going back to that scene because here you have a murderer, Ramzi Yousef. I'm not sympathizing with him. But here you have a murderer telling other people who are judging him that, hey, wait a minute, you're murderers too. In fact, you're much more egregious in your crimes. And it's much easier to blame radical fundamentalist groups because, oh, they might use a bomb or they might, use a AK-47 and kill a bunch of people, and the media glorifies this. Look, it's an invasion. Meanwhile, when we bomb Lebanon and we bomb Pakistan, we bomb Libya, and we killed tens of thousands. In fact, we killed over 1 million in Iraq. Oh, that's war. That's a shame. It's hypocritical. We're creating the terrorists by being terrorists. There is no clean hands here. Whether it's from Lebanon or Syria or Iran, Israel, United States. The people who are suffering the most aren't the governments. It's the people of Lebanon. It's the people of Syria. It's the people of Pakistan. It's the people of Iran. It's the people of Israel. It's the people of the United States, the common folk. This is the sad story of it all. Because we're the ones dying, not them. Yeah, you may take out a leadership or two. You take out Hassan Nasrallah, and there's another one that's going to pop up, and then two more because you just killed a bunch of others. I'm not cheering yet. Hey, you want this war to stop? The United States gets rid of AIPAC, the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, from influencing Congress. You arrest Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant, hand them over to the Hague, build Israel new, take down those walls, make a promise to the Arabs in Palestine, and basically say Jews and Arabs are going to live together. We'll call it Israel for the time being, but it's not a Jewish state. It's a multifaceted state where everybody can live together like they used to. And then we could talk to the governments of Syria and Iran and Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and basically have them all in a like an Arab conference, a Muslim conference, and basically have the United States government to outline a plan to basically say, look, we have to start new. We have to stop this regional conflict. Whether it's from political or religious means, it's got to stop. Because if we're going to live on this earth, we have to live together in relative harmony. Now, of course, this is a pipe dream, but it's not impossible. We just need other people to wake up and realize, hey, it's not the ideology that governs us. It's our humanity that governs us. And if we lose that, what do we have left? If we lose our humanity, we're going to look at other people as inhumane objects. And that's what war does. War makes you look at other people as less than, lessers. That's what the Nazis did. That's what the Japanese did. The United States even made psychological profiles and outlines regarding how soldiers react in war when they see their enemy face to face. They're hesitant to kill, but the further away, they're easier to kill. That's coming from an analytical view, right? But coming from a more cerebral, mental view. The further away you distance yourself from everybody else, the more apt you are to believe that they don't exist. They're easy to dispose of. And I really believe that as this conflict continues to worsen, that the fear is that there'll be no repercussions for Israel, not even for this, what they did in Gaza, which is one of the worst war crimes in history. And without repercussions, without any authorities basically condemning them or prosecuting them, they're going to say, wait a minute, we can get away with this. What else could we get away with? And when you have people like Ben-Gvir, Benjamin Netanyahu, and groups like the Otzma Yehudit, I did a video on this group. That's where Ben-Gvir is from. Which are basically formed out of the Mayor Kahana's group. And you get these people like Benazil Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, Reverend Zevi, I think that's his name, Ayelet Shaked. These people are behind Netanyahu, and they think Netanyahu is not too conservative enough. Wow. And these people come right out and say, not only do we not need Arabs, we need to kill their women and children. That's what's coming. These far-right extremist groups have born these overtly religious, apolitical groups that don't have a political identity. They have a very monstrous view of the world, that they believe that all the governments are basically should be destroyed, and there should be one central local government headed by one guy who can make all the decisions on our behalf because he's the chosen one from God, or whatever religious identity he's going to be preferred to, but basically going to be Christian nationalism because identifies with Zionism, Israeli Zionism. Christian nationalists are Israeli Zionists. Their religious identity is very different, but the political identity is similar, same. That's what's coming. That's what's coming. All right. I'm going to end it right there. It was basically a rant today. I just a little bit, I think it's frustrating when you have a government that is complicit in war crimes, and you have a people that keeps supporting the system that brings them into power. It really demoralizes you. There are some days where I just want to say, I want to give up. Fuck this. What am I going to do then? Go back to rooting for the Yankees? I can't do that, There's no off switch. Can't shut it off about what's going on around the world. So I'll report it and I'll condemn it as long as I'm alive because I won't be a part of it. It's better than doing nothing. I'm voicing my opinion. I'm sharing information and trying to educate the audience about what's going on responsibly in the hopes of having a unified effort in fighting against the evils of governments and what they're doing to us because it's happening in our name. All right, guys, listen, have a very good weekend. Thank you for tuning in and see you next.